Welcome back, Seekers and Saints, to Fire in the Bones vlog. And it's been a little bit of a time, I know. We took a short break, but we're back in the full swing and back in time for the brand new sermon series, Go Fish. So, of course, we're going to start off with the first sermon, which was on July 24th. So in that sermon, the main point was that believers fish. Well, simple, beautiful, biblical. But as I watched it and listened to the sermon, and by the way, I'll put the link in the notes, you should go check out that sermon. But as I listened to it, I was reminded of a few things about fishing. So, not to sound political, that's not the goal of this, but ever since the Trump assassination attempt, I've been getting a lot of feeds on my YouTube and social media about how this fits a prophecy, how his bleeding ear matched a passage in Leviticus about priestly anointing, and how it matched this revelatory passage, and blah, 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 blah. I'll spare you the details. But the point is, people are trying to connect this horrific crime, by the way. It is what it is, a horrific crime. But they're trying to connect it to the Bible. They're fishing for a prophecy. And this isn't the only time. We've seen this before. I remember a few years ago when there was a pastor that tried to mathematically prove the end of the world was going to happen 6 months from that point. And of course it came and went and nothing happened. Or how many times I see still to this day people just going online and connecting this passage or that prophecy to something that happened today. There was a bombing in Damascus. This is the end. What? You know how many bombings there have been in Damascus? Look, the point in all of this is that it reminded me of something Jesus said in Acts 1:7. It is not for you to know the times and authorities and the periods that God has set by his own authority in heaven. So if Jesus said that, why are we fishing for a prophetic meaning? Or what about other feel-good messages? There are a lot of churches right now that are pushing aside the gospel because they want to push something else that's more attractive. Health and wealth gospel? Or any other theology, whether it's hyper-liberal, hyper-orthodox, whatever the case may be, it's not gospel-oriented. I remember there's one pastor, Greg Locke, that was once asked, why don't you talk about Jesus and the gospel more? And in that sermon he refuted, well, because talking about my political points is that. He said something to that effect. Again, he was fishing, but for the wrong thing. So that really just comes down to the point of today. Yes, believers fish for people. Go back to Philippians. Let's go back a little bit. We just did a series on that. Go back to 3:14 where Paul says he is pushing on to the end game of the race, which is share the gospel, get the news of Jesus out. That's really our goal. When Jesus gave the Great Commission, it wasn't, therefore, and go find every prophecy you can that links to some contemporary movement. Therefore, go and preach whatever's hot at the time. Therefore, twist what I say to make people feel good. Therefore, go and fill as many seats as you can and make the biggest megachurch you can. None of those things are in the Great Commission. It's go and make disciples. So at the end of the day, yes, believers fish, but let's keep the main thing the main thing. Believers fish for people, not prophecies, not ideas, not feel-good philosophies, not whatever. We fish for people using the gospel. So keep that in mind as we go through this series. Whenever you get tempted to look at other things, to go heavy in on studying prophecy or heavy into something else, and you want the church to do that, always ask yourself, is this really helping the gospel? Is this really fishing for people, or is this for fishing what I'm interested in? That's it for today. Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you next time on Fire in the Bones.